good crowd. I'm really, really happy to be with you today. My first time in the Baltic countries, and wow, I really like it. In only 3 days, I've met a lot of good people, interesting people. So I want really to thank the organizing committee for their invitation, and especially you, Iris. We just had a good introduction where we talk about the evolution of vehicle, clothes, and also how we train athletes. My presentation will be about how can we innovate in terms of to prepare coaches for the future. So this is the map of our very short journey together. I will start talking about how we develop coaches in the 20th century. Then, what about globalization and technology, which force us to change the way we define learning? This brings me to a model that I've been working on that will help us to see coach development in the 20th century and also what we should do in the 21st century. In the 21st century, coaches and sport organization, specifically sport organization, have to play a bigger role. They have to become what I've called deliberately developmental organization, or DDO. And then I will give 2 examples. What's happened here? Okay, magic. I will give 2 examples and then the conclusion. How we develop coaches in the 20th century? It was very simple. Okay, we just had to regroup all the information about how we develop coaches, the way to coach. We call it best practice. How to coach, what coaches should do. We take all the material, split it in level 1, 2, or 3, or ABC. Then we divided in level, and we changed the material maybe every 10 years because there was relatively stability. If I use Jennifer Moon's metaphor about learning, we can say that we were in the metaphor was building a brick wall. Researchers, with their methodology, their knowledge, will be able to build the knowledge like bricks. Then, coach developer use some bricks for level 1, few more bricks for level 2, and so on. Coaches had to accumulate knowledge, okay? And if you were a good student and you succeed in the program, you receive your diploma. And then you should be able to coach for a few years, many years maybe. But learning was not intentional in that moment. In brief, learning was an individual process, and the coaches had the responsibility. The sport federation, club, their role was quite simple. They developed the program or send the coaches to the program. What about globalization and technology? Wow. And this is true not only in sport. In fact, globalization and technology bring more challenging work, more complex work. And it's true for sport also. Coaching is becoming more and more complex. For example, globalization. I went on Google and I typed annual training plan in tennis. In 1 second, I got more than 500,000 results. Did it for soccer. Did it for basketball. 3.5 million results. Why I should start? I have reading there for the rest of my life. What about now technology? Coaches have the possibility to use software to analyze the performance of their teams, the opponent teams. They can use software to analyze the techniques of each player. Even the players can have almost direct information about their performance. What about virtual reality? It's coming, it's going to change how we train athletes. So, we have globalization and technology provide to us a flow of information. That's why we have more and more specialists around the coaches. But coaches are saying, but you see, the old model that we have used to think in terms of coach development doesn't fit anymore. We can ask the coach to add more knowledge. We have to change. Coaches are saying, when we interview them, we learn through many learning opportunities, not only in courses or workshops. And in fact, in a recent study with a colleague from China, we have reviewed the publication in English journals about coaches' sources of knowledge acquisition. And what we found, there's many studies on that, and coaches are saying, we learn through a mentor, other coaches, on the job, our experience being an athlete, and so on. So, if we have to shift how we learn, where would go? Then I keep using Jennifer Moon's metaphor. Instead of building a brick wall, we should think in terms of new network of ideas and feeling. I will explain it. The coach cognitive structure is at the center of this model. And the cognitive structure is what you know, how you define learning, your feeling. And that will change based on the information that you will use. The first learning situation is what we call mediated learning situation. In a mediated learning situation, there is somebody that decides for the learner what to learn, when to learn, and how to learn. Okay? Example are training program, coaching institute, university program, workshop. At the moment, you are in a mediated learning situation. They give me 30 minutes. I've decided the content of it. Okay? But because each of you have your own cognitive structure, what you will gain from my presentation, which is the same for everyone, but what you gain will be different. For some, it will be, wow. Some others say, oh, I already knew it. But I didn't bring anything new today. So it depends on your cognitive structure. Mediated learning situations are important. At the university, students can get very good information in 1 hour from a prof. It will take the student maybe a month to get the same information. But the disadvantage of mediated learning situation is that when you are forced to take it and you don't want it, you lose your time. The other situation is what we call the unmediated learning situation. Then the learner decides by himself or herself what to learn. For example, calling another coach, going on the web. Okay? Those is the people who decide it, and coaches are always saying that's where we learn the most, for sure. If they decide to go to the web to get some information, that's because they really need it. That is the advantage. But the disadvantage of the unmediated learning situation is that you cannot look for some information that you don't know it exists. So you might be staying in your small bubble. Then we have the internal learning situation, where there is no more information that you take outside to change your cognitive structure. You stop, step back, and reflect on what you already know. So if you write in a learning journal, that's a good example. If you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and say, oh, how should I prepare my presentation today? That's what happened to me last night. Oh yes, I need to add that slide. So I've changed my cognitive structure. And later on, I will talk about how a personal coach can be an internal learning situation. That classification, mediated, unmediated, and internal learning situation are now used by some authors to classify the sources of knowledge. So it's getting more and more popular. Now, the model network. That version of the model has been published last year, and it's composed of 3 components: coaching context, learning situation, and coach identity evolution. Coaching context. We have decided to use 3 categories: coaches working with athletes at the recreational level, developmental level, or performance. You can change those categories if you want. The ICCE, International Council for Coaching Excellence, in a document talking about South Africa, they have used volunteer, part-time, and full-time. Okay? If you use the LTD, long-term athlete development approach, there is 7 categories. Select what you want. It does not really matter. Then we have the coach identity evolution, and this is a very important component of the model. And to explain it, I really use Ellery's approach. Ellery is saying that because of globalization and technology, we have more and more possibility to go outside of our comfort zone. We interact with more people. So you have probably the possibility to change your identity more often. And I will explain what is newcomer, competent, and super competent innovator in a moment. And the 3rd category is the learning situation that I have just explained. If I use the literature at the moment, the importance of the 3 learning situations will be like this. Newcomer and competent will use more mediated learning situation and not that much internal learning situation because they are new. They cannot that much reflect on what they know. Okay? But to be a super competent innovator, then you decrease the importance of mediated learning situation and you have to reflect more, to critique your coaching approach. Let's take John. John is a coach. My sport was ice hockey. I know hockey is popular, so John is an ice hockey coach. He wants to start coaching. Maybe his son is start to play hockey. So he's a newcomer. At the same time, maybe we ask him to be certified. He needs a certification to be competent. Okay? If I use Keegan's work, we'll call that phase, a newcomer and competent, the phase will be kind of dependent. John is dependent. He's looking for perspective about how to coach. He will take some courses to be certified. Unmediated, he will call some friend to know more about how we should. Okay? Then, before being super competent, he was doing quite good. So, the federation asked him, how come to work at the developmental level? Well, he went back as a newcomer. New type of players, new roles. Very quickly, we asked him to take some more certification. John really liked to coach at the developmental level. Maybe after 4 or 5 years, what's happening? is starting to be super competent. Super competent is when you start to develop your own coaching approach. Okay? And in fact, you will be in the independent phase. You are pushing. You are very proud of your coaching approach. Sometimes coaches will be so proud that they don't want to share their secret. They keep it for them. Don't talk to the other coaches about how they coach. He was doing quite good before being an innovator. He was asked to be the national coach. Okay? Again, went back as a newcomer. New athletes, new way, a lot more traveling. You have to change the way you coach. Okay? We asked him to take some more workshop. He became super competent over the year, developed his own coaching approach. But to be innovator is very difficult. You have to change from the independent phase to the interdependent phase. You have to have the right mindset where you are starting to say, yes, I have a good approach, but there is some other good approaches. And I need to critique my own approach. So based on Kagan, it will be difficult. So that model, it's based on coach development and performance in the 20th century. It focuses on developing many competent coaches, certification, professionalization of the coaching. And it's very, very important to develop competent coaches. We need programs to develop competent coaches. But we have few super competent and very, very few innovator coaches. And that is true in business and some other field. So what do we need to do to make the coaches more innovator? I use that quote as an example, but I could have used many other quotes. They all look the same. In today's rapidly changing world, leaders are constantly challenged with questions such as these. How can we keep improving? What can we do that is new and better? How can I innovate? We ask those questions for the athletes. Why not for the coaches? How can we innovate in terms of training coaches? How can I innovate? Well, it seems that to be an organization that will innovate, you need to regroup the best people. People that will be able to work together. How do you select them? One of the most important criteria will be people who want to learn. What is the sport organization strategy, your sport organization strategy about high-performance coaches? Is it like in Canada? For many sport federations, they are looking for the savior. We have a problem and we're going to look to find a coach around the world that's going to come and save us. That person's going to solve all our problems. If it's the strategy, you need to develop the best. Okay? The best recruitment system. But don't forget, if you focus only on the winning record, you are missing something. You should also look for someone who wants to learn. And that is what is happening. Okay? If the organization wants to develop its staff, its coaches, okay, have to become a deliberately developmental organization, which is a DDO. What is a DDO? Well, I really like to work with Keegan and Lael. Their work is fantastic. For me, it really opened my eyes. It's based on business. I just applied it to coaches. Well, what they are saying is that DDO, their developmental culture is based on the belief that for sport, high-performance coaching can be the ideal context for people growth, evolution, and flourishing. That's what I call coach identity in the model. In a DDO, it's okay to make mistakes, but you are not allowed to not analyze the mistake and learn from it. Is it what is happening in high-performance sport? High-performance coaches can make mistakes? Not sure. In a DDO, they have to create a safe enough and demanding enough culture for people to develop. If you want to develop, to learn, you have to be in a safe environment, but demanding environment. To become super competent innovator is not easy. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of time. Development is not an adjective. The coach should not say, wow, I need to go to my class. No. Coaching is learning, learning is coaching. Okay? It's learning almost on the job. What will happen if an organization is becoming a DDO? It will help to play with the importance of the three learning situation. And I will give you two examples. The first one, it's using the last Olympic Games, the Rio Games, to prepare two coaches to act as head coach during the next Olympic Game. That's Sport Federation. The two coaches, I've been working with them. I will say that they were working with athletes at the developmental level. They were starting to be interdependent. When I talked with them, it was easy to see that they wanted to kind of critique their approach. Okay? But their sport federation wanted them to be in the future, to work at the high performance and be innovator. In the past, what the sport federation was doing, buy the ticket, give the ticket to the coaches, go and learn, come back, write a report, that's it. Well, if you deliberately want the coach to learn, you will do the things differently. And that's what that sport federation did. What they did, they regrouped people. They asked me to get involved. They contact the Canadian Olympic Committee, Coaching Association Canada, and then On the Podium. 3 organizations present at the games who can open the door for the coaches to have better learning opportunities. Before the game, I really wanted the coach to have the right mindset when they go to the games. So I met with them on Skype. First activity was to ask them to write their autobiography. Not the full book. Only the table of content. And each chapter was a key moment in their life that prepared them to be where they are at that moment. That was great. It was an internal learning situation to have them to step back and reflect. Then, Olympic game based on literature, stressful situation, pressure moment are very important. So what I did, select 3 applied articles, ask the coach to read them. Mediated learning situation, I selected the article. We reflect on the content, internal learning situation then, okay? At the game, the first 2 days, we had a conference by the ICCE. The coaches attended the conference with me. Then it was mediated. We have a debrief about what they have learned from it. Internal learning situation. At the game, they observed training practices. They were able to talk with coaches from other countries because of what? We have opened the door for them. Then after the game, I wanted the coaches to reinvest what they have learned in their sport federation. I helped the coach to prepare their presentation, internal learning situation again. So, in 2 weeks, what we were able to do is to increase the internal learning situation, okay, which is very important because deliberate reflection is what makes the difference between a newcomer and innovator. The other example is how to help an high-performance athlete in his transition to become a coach. We call it often very like a fast track. Maybe we can call it smart track. Okay? So that coach, it was a volleyball Olympic athlete, retired last year. His sports federation asked him to be a coach at the developmental level. Very quickly he realized that, there's a difference between being an athlete and a coach. I need to learn a lot. He was really in the dependent phase, looking for ways to coach. Traditionally, the strategy will have been, we have a good program for you. There is 20 modules. Take those modules, and you will be certified a high-performance coach. And we hope that you will be able to use that knowledge and apply it in your coaching. Well, as a DDO, that sport federation said, let's talk with the coach. Very quickly they realized that at 43 years old, 2 kids, house, cars, cannot afford to go to the university for 4 years. Impossible. You need to develop a customized program. But that program needs to be recognized by the Coaching Association of Canada. So I was hired a personal learning coach to develop a way to prepare the coach. So working together, the Sport Federation, CEC, and myself, we were a group people. What we did, what we are doing at the moment, every 2 weeks we are meeting. And that meeting is based on what I call narrative collaborative coaching approach. I'm certified a kind of business coach, life coach. I applied all that knowledge to this approach. Okay? That approach of coaching people is based on learning, reflection.
Oh, it's so interesting, but we have 3 minutes and we'll discuss in forthcoming 2 days.
Yeah.
3 minutes, okay?
Thank you. Okay, we discuss error and challenge. We identify learning activities. Learning activity can be this one. I put the coach in the middle, all the actors around him, and ask him, what is the communication between the different people? Only the sport federation can help the coach to succeed in that exercise. And we use a system to keep track of the topic. The system is what? After each meeting, we kind of mark which high-performance standard we have been working on. So, in a year and a half, we'll be able to present to CEC what we have done. What we have done is different than in the past. In the past, it was program, transfer to his coaching, learning just in case. We have been starting from his coaching and develop the program, which is an emerging program. But you really need to have a system which is safe enough and demanding enough. Conclusion. In the past, organization has a limited role. The focus about developing program. In the 21st century, we have to think in terms of individual learning and organizational learning. Now think, who will be the coaches in 4 years or 8 years from now? Your next generation of coaches. How they will like to learn? High-performance learning organization require the right people in terms of administrator and coaches, people who are ready to learn. The right environment, safe enough, demanding enough, and the right process, using more learning conversation, trying to have more internal learning situation. So thank you very much. I will be around today and tomorrow, so if you have questions and you want to discuss what I have presented, it will be my pleasure. Thank you.